So when we converge the soul, the body, the past, and the future on the present moment, or the portal, or the point of power, then we can manifest. The 6 pathways. So this is another one of my tools that I've designed to help you get into the proper state of mind or mind set for manifesting. So the 6 pathways basically deals with the now, because that's where your point of power is. All your power is in the now. So these 6 pathways will all be conceptual components that direct you to the portal. I like to call it, so I'm going to call it the portal, or your point of power, or the now. Those 3 things all are basically the same thing. So everything happens in the now as far as manifesting is concerned, but we're not always in the now. Our attention is not in the now. I talked about attention, and that's going to be a very important part of manifesting. So in order to be in the now, you have to be conscious of where your attention and your awareness is. So manifesting, if done consciously, is when you can bring into your life the things that you like to have, but it has to be done with conscious awareness or conscious attention, and in the moment, in the now, in the point of power. So the 6 pathways also talk about the point of power, but understand that when it comes to manifesting, and this is something that is really important but probably not recognized by most people, I want to point out that in our daily existence, our reality, our experience, our life experience is actually where consciousness and physicality meet. So our body is the meeting place for consciousness and physicality. And so it is there that we are able to affect the energetic field of which we are part of, the field in which we exist in. So when we recognize that our consciousness and that energy field are meeting together, the point of power also allows us to access the infinite realities that exist. I mentioned earlier how when we manifest things in our life, we're not necessarily changing our present situation. We're actually introducing a whole different reality. So there's a version of you that is poor, and there's a version of you that is wealthy. There's a version of you that's ill, and there's a version of you that's healthy. And of course, there's infinite reality. So there's not just those 1 or 2. There's multiple possibilities, infinite possibilities, in fact. So the portal, the now, or the point of power are all the places where we can access those infinite realities. And that's why it's called your point of power. The point of power is the now. And the portal, when you think of a portal, it's actually a gateway. But this gateway is not tangible. It's a concept. So don't confuse the gateway like this, the Star Trek gateway show, where they actually have this gateway where they go in and out and they enter other realities. But to a certain degree, that's actually what happens. But we're doing all of this in our mind. Okay. So now let's talk about the first of the six pathways, which, as I said, are conceptual components. And the first one is the soul. The soul is the part of us that enlivens our body, so it gives our body life. It's the part of us that helps us to experience being alive and the things that we experience energetically speaking. It's the part of us that also carries on when this physical entity has transpired, or so it's said. And I know that's kind of a different topic. I'm not going to talk too much about that right now. Not in this video anyway. I just want to kind of talk about these 6 pathways and how they apply to you manifesting exactly what it is you desire. Okay, so the soul is the first pathway, the first conceptual component that allows us to, these pathways, by the way, are all going to converge on the portal, the point of power, or the now. And that's why I constructed in the way I did. You're going to see a diagram for each one of these pathways. So there are 6 pathways, and there will be 6 diagrams that help visually to steer your attention to where you need to be. So the soul is the first one. The second one is the flesh or the body. So understand that the soul and the body meet in reality. So this reality that we're experiencing is where our soul or energetic self meets with our physical self in this reality. So this reality is the place where those two meet. So the body is actually the part of us that has also experiences, but the body experiences through the five senses. And the body is also energy. And our five senses interpret energy as well. So our senses are interpreting energy in different forms. There are basically three types of energy. There's electromagnetic energy, there's light energy, and there's sound energy. And so, again, when it comes to manifesting, we're just affecting energy with our mind, our thoughts, our beliefs, and our feelings as well. Now, the path represents time, but time that's already been experienced. And when it comes to manifesting, we want to suspend time altogether. We don't want to be in the past or the future. We'll talk about the future in a minute, but in the future, we'll talk about the future. But we want to suspend time. And so when we are focused on the past, then we're not in the present. There's a lot of talk about being, mindful and being in the now, and that's really what it talks about. Being in the now is basically being present, having your attention and your focus on the moment. And that's not something that we're really good at. I think Eckhart Tolle wrote a book called The Power of Now, which kind of speaks to that. And there is a lot of power in the now. That's why they say it's your point of power. But back to the past. So we as a people spend a lot of time in the past, thinking about things that have already transpired. And then when you're in the past represents the emotion of regret, is a form of being in the past, because you're thinking about something that's already happened and how you feel about what happened. So again, it's all about focused attention that's focused. So attention means you are aware of where your focus is. And when it comes to manifesting, you cannot manifest from the past. So that past is one of the pathways that we're going to pay attention to, and the diagrams that I have constructed will lead you from the past to the point of power, which is the now. And then the fourth pathway of the six pathways is the future, which is similar to the past from the standpoint that we are not in the moment. And again, when it comes to manifesting, we need to be in the moment, which means we're suspending time. Think about this for a second. It's always now, or it's always the present. And when it comes to manifesting, whether you want to use now or the present, but it's a string of those that have produced what you're experiencing right now, since our reality is based on what we think and what we believe helps to produce our reality. Now, it's almost paradoxical because we're talking about the past, which is the now, because it's always now. So whatever you did in your past nows is what's produced your now. Does that make sense? Okay, so, and then with the future, it's more about the future. You can kind of discern where your attention is. I mean, you can actually do that easily, but if you're worried about something, you automatically know that you're not in the present. You're probably in the future because you're worried about something that hasn't happened yet. And as I said, with the past, it would be regret. So regret is time in the past and worry is time in the future. But neither one of those conceptual components will get you to where you need to be to manifest. To manifest, you need to be at your point of power, which is what? Exactly, the now. So we want to make sure that we're focusing on the portal. And the portal, I use the word the portal because all of these pathways converge on the portal. So when we converge the soul, the body, the past, and the future on the present moment, or the portal, or the point of power, then we can manifest. But we're not done yet, because there are still two pathways that we need to look at. One is what I call extended external focus, which is basically exactly what it sounds like. your focus is on something outside of yourself, but it's in an extended amount of focus. And sometimes that's a good thing. For example, if you sit down watching a movie, that's a perfect example of extended focus outside of yourself, because your focus is not on you, it's on the movie. And if the movie's an hour or 2 hours long, then you're focusing on the movie while you're watching it. That's a good way to practice your focus. Meaning, if you can sit there and watch your movie for an hour without your attention drifting off to something else, like, what am I going to have for dinner? Or I wonder what the kids are doing, or I wonder if my check's in the mail, or whatever. Okay, so extended external focus has its time and purpose. There's a time for everything. And of course, if you're planning something, you're going to need some time to focus on outside of yourself, on your plans. And as long as your time is in focus, or attention is used efficiently towards goals to enhance yourself, that's fine. So extended external focus does have its purpose. The last pathway is called scattered focus, which is basically the opposite of extended focus. It basically means that attention span is very short, focusing on multiple tasks or things that need to be addressed. And you can't really do, but the mind works in channels. So even when you think you're like multitasking, it's said that actually multitasking is very inefficient from the standpoint that it doesn't really allow, the mind has to keep changing from one pathway to another, and that is not very efficient. But anyway, scattered focus is really about not being able to focus for any extended period of time. When it comes to focusing to manifest, scattered focus is not going to work, because in order to manifest, we need to have focused attention, and for a certain amount of time. When we focus for manifesting, it allows us to basically be at a certain energetic frequency for a certain amount of time, so that focus can be assimilated by the universe. So that means that they're linking. Our focus is linking with the universe and allowing us to send our message as to what we desire energetically. And then once that message is sent, it's just a matter of waiting for the results. But that's a whole nother topic, which we're going to talk about after these pathways. So again, scattered focus is when we can't focus for any extended period of time. And whereas extended focus does have benefits, because one of those is training your mind to be able to focus on a specific thing for a certain amount of time. And it's a very powerful tool to help manifest. Scattered focus doesn't serve any real purpose. When our attention is scattered, we don't really get to accomplish anything. And so now that we talked about the 6 pathways, I would like you to take a look at the diagrams that are included with this lesson. And when you attempt to manifest, usually one or more of those pathways, we're going to be drifting off in one direction or the other. Either we're going to be in the past, we're going to be in the future, or we're going to be focusing on something outside of ourselves for an extended period of time, or we're not going to be the focus at all. Or maybe we're not focused on ourselves from a bodily standpoint. Now with the soul, which I said was the first pathway, it is there, but when these pathways don't converge to the portal, so the goal is to be focused on the now, which is the portal, your point of power. So understanding that to manifest, we need to have our attention on the point where the power is. If it's in the past or the future, if it's extended focus on something outside of self, or if we just don't have any focus at all of those are going to take us away from the portal. So when you look at these pathways, you can identify which pathway you find yourself. And I don't think there's really any one pathway that people are going to be more inclined to drift off towards. I think we all have our moments when we're in the past. We all have our moments when the future. We all have our moments when we're scatterbrained, and then when we're locked in on something outside of ourselves. And I want to make it clear that there's nothing wrong with being focused on any one of those areas. It's just that when it comes to manifesting, those those focuses, those pathways won't work. You need to be in the moment. And this whole manifestation process is all about the mind. Attention, focus, consciousness, awareness. It all deals with your mind. So these 6 pathways, we want to make sure that we are aware of where our attention is at all times. And that's part of when I said the brain might be smoking a little bit, this is what I'm talking about. We have to be tuned into where our attention is. It's our brain, it's our mind, it's our world, it's our reality. And we're responsible for how it unfolds. If it's not us, then who's responsible for our reality if not ourselves? So the pathways are designed to help you direct your attention to the portal. Once you get familiar with those, it'll be much easier to pay attention to where your attention is. No pun intended. And it's all about consciousness and awareness. Awareness of where your attention is, because just keeping in mind that that's how you create with your awareness in the place where it needs to be, which is in the now. All right, so remember, you're responsible for reality, and the point of power is always in the now.